Hey everyone, and welcome to Back at the Ranch, Expedition Online's after show. My name is Jessica Martin from season 1, and here with me tonight is Arliana. Welcome to the ranch.
Hello,
How you doing?
I'm good. I don't necessarily want to be at the ranch, but I'm good.
I know we don't want you to be here either. You were crushing the compass game,
Well, thank you.
and we'll get to what brought you here today. But
Okay.
let's start at the beginning. So day 0, you get dropped in a room with 15 other explorers. What were your first thoughts? Who did you connect with? Who were you a little put off by?
So right away, I was really just trying to kind of study faces. I will say one of the things that popped in my head right away, like Michael seemed like he looked like he'd be a really nice guy. I also thought Sneha and Jordan were both girls that I wanted to connect with. And for some reason, Carl, like he kind of seemed like he was like a fun guy. And like that's someone like, hey, he'd be fun to play with kind of thing. Really, the only thing, not even really a put off, but the only thing that stood out to me that was interesting, I think when we were kind of introducing ourselves and everyone had their names except there was the one face goddess. So it was a little like, do I really call her face goddess? Like, hey, face goddess. So that was the only one that kind of like, okay, kind of thing. But no one made me feel like, oh, that's a person that you need to stay away from or anything like that.
Well, that's good. Good first day reaction.
Yeah.
So party gets picked on day 1. How did you feel about who you ended up with?
I actually felt really great because, like I said, Sneha and Jordan, like, were both people that I was like, hey, I'd like to get them to know them better. And we both were on a tribe together, or a party together. So it was really good for me to be like, oh, those were 2 girls that I really like noticed, and then I was with them. So I felt like that was like a really good indication of like this could be good. So
Yeah. And so you guys win the first couple challenges, but you end up losing a member the first day because Solo doesn't show up.
yes.
How did you guys feel about that?
Um, at first we were really down because it was like, great, like we're already down a number. So we were really nervous of like how that's gonna go moving forward. But I think like one of the next times we were all together, like they were then down 2 numbers. So it was kind of like, oh, but at first it was like, man, that's not like a good start to already have like one person out. So
Yeah, definitely. Could have been a really potential bad situation, but I think it ended up working out okay for you guys.
yeah.
So we get to round 3. That's the first time Kibo loses. What were your thoughts going into your first official vote? I know Jon Snow was the original proposed name. Were you on board with that?
I almost feel like at the beginning, you're really just trying to maintain the peace. And so I was honestly on board with almost like anything that the majority would think at that point. Um, I was okay with Jon Snow, but I know the other John, everyone kind of kept saying his name and he's kind of a loner and he's not connecting. So I was fine with going that route. At that point, I had connected with a few people. So I felt like I was okay at that point. So I wasn't really in fear of like me going anywhere. So I just kind of wanted to, like, what's the majority doing at this point? So
Yeah, and it worked out. It ended up being a 6-1 vote for John JJ the man to go home, which brings us to round 4, where we have the dreaded party swap.
yeah.
And you unfortunately land on the wrong side of the numbers and end up at Shira. What was going on through your head then?
I felt totally screwed at that point, to be honest. It became almost like a perfect 4-2 on both sides. Like one party was 4-2 with the original that I was with, and then I was on the 4-2, and I was with Jon Snow, who I had not really connected with him at all. So it wasn't even like you're in the minority. I'm in the minority with someone I hadn't even connected with yet. So yeah, I was like scared at that point.
Kibo loses round 4 and round 5, so you guys are safe. How are you feeling about the new party? Because you are obviously having more time to strategize and talk with your party since you're not going to Crossroads. Are you making connections with anyone?
So at that point, it really kind of shocked me, kind of the dynamics of me and Jon Snow being added. Nobody wanted to talk to us. And it was really strange to me because I'm like, you never know what's going to happen. So you want to make connections with people. And so they would break out in rooms and the rooms would be full. And then they would stay in those rooms for a long time. And so I would sit there and I'm just like sitting and sitting and sitting and I'm like, man, so the only person that was available like was Jon Snow. So we would talk and I would say to him like, okay, nobody's like even trying to talk to us. And so then I went into, I went by the fire. I went by like just by myself just to see. And the only person that hopped in was Trent. And this was like after a while of just being completely alone. Trent hopped in. And he was the one that made like the first connection and kind of, and I was honest with him. I'm like, you're the first person that's even trying to have any kind of conversation with me. And so we connected. I mean, he asked about me. So it was like, okay, this is the first person that I'm having some kind of connection with that I was not on the previous party with. So
That's good that he came and talked to you, though. That's tough to be on a new party and not have anyone trying to help you out. Like it just, first of all, it's not good gameplay. And second of all, it just makes you feel bad.
it did. I was like, wow, now I know I'm alone. Like, so it kind of hit me like, this is not good.
So I know you guys had made an alliance over there. Did that happen the first night or did that happen before you guys went to Crossroads?
Okay. So Trent told me like, hey, I really like you. I would like for us to see like what we can do together. And I wanted us to, how do we figure this out? So he told me that he would, try to have my back when it came to either me or John going home. So I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say it was an alliance. It was a start of like, how do we work together and how do we kind of have each other's back kind of thing. So that's when it all started. And really, to me, it was smart on his end because he was the only one that really came to talk to me. So
Yeah. So we get to round 6 and the new Shira loses their first challenge and they bring Robin over from the Kibo for the night, which is an epic game moment because it originally looks like you're going home and you have 5 or 6 clues to the compass at that point, but haven't found it. But you have more than anybody leading the compass race, and they all want to send you out because you are very well connected and obviously a very loyal Kibo. And then Robin comes in and saves the day. Did you expect him to do that?
I didn't. I really didn't know what to expect, but him coming in and having the ability to vote and do so at the last minute really caused it to be where they really could not talk about, should we change it? Should we, like, there was no time for them to even consider it. And so him saving me, like that was huge. Like that was, and I, at that point, I didn't know if they were going to save me or Jon Snow. I was really trying to push like he's a wild card. And he really made it known like, I'm, screw that other tribe or screw that other party. I'm here to work with you guys. And so I was trying to say like, is that really someone you can like bank on? And so I was trying, but I did not think that it would get to the point of where they were trying to split a vote between us. And then Robin came in and made sure like I was safe. So
it was such an epic crossroads to watch, such a fun moment.
yeah.
And you obviously were safe, make it
Yeah.
to the rendezvous. Jordan wins the first exemption. Trent is right on her heels with that crazy memory game. And as a mod, I'm watching that. I'm like, oh my God, Trent is in trouble. He just performed like an all-star. They've got to target him. And obviously he was a target. His name was brought up, but it was you who ended up saving him.
So I did tell people because he and I kind of made a pact that we would have each other's back kind of thing. And so they were asking me like, how was the dynamics of where I came from? And I was honest with them. I'm like, no one talked to me. He's the only one that talked to me. So to me, because of the gesture he made towards me, I at least wanted to do my part to see if it was possible to not vote him out right away. Because to me, can we vote someone else out first? Obviously, if it had to get to the point of where that would have happened, then we would deal with it. But I did want to make sure that he was safe at that point. So
yeah. And I don't know if you realize this, but he was more loyal to you than anyone in the game. He wanted you to be his ride or die to the end. And he said you were the only real alliance that he wanted to roll with.
that's amazing. I seriously didn't know that, because it's always hard to know like really where people stand, no, but I really felt like we had made a connection. But yeah, I felt like we had made a connection, and I just knew that at that point I didn't want him to go home. So
Yeah, he's such a great guy.
yeah, he's really nice.
So then we get to round 8, and that brings us to your departure.
Yeah.
Which you were obviously a target because of your social ability. And I don't think anyone had any clue that you had the compass at that point either. So they didn't know they flushed that when they sent you home. But what happened with your old Kibo members?
So I deliberately did not want to tell anyone that I had a compass. And really the main reason was I hadn't been with that group of people. And I didn't know what they had already created while I wasn't there. And I was like, I'm just going to kind of keep it to myself. And so with Robin saving me, I really thought like Robin and I were good. I'm like, he saves me. He now knows like I fully have his back. I had made that connection with Jordan and Sneha, and I was like, okay, like, I think we're solid. So I think I just really thought we were solid. And it's funny because we were approached, me and Sneha were approached by Danielle of like, is this the time to make a move and get Robin out or someone out? And my answer was like, the next one. And obviously it was me. So there was no next one, but I just really had in my mind that I was solid that night. I just did not even sense that it could possibly be me. So
Yeah, they kept it under wraps well, because Sneha was left out of that vote.
yeah.
Which she was not happy about at all.
Yeah.
But so the most interesting thing to me about this vote is that, so Trent, like I said, was so set on working with you. And during this vote, he felt like you had flipped on him and he had to vote you out. He specifically mentioned a moment where he tried to get in a room. I think it was with you and Danielle, and someone asked him to leave. He was
Danielle
like, oh my
did.
God, are they going to vote me out?
Yeah. So that, I remember even feeling in that moment, like, oh gosh, like she said, hey, Trent, can you let us talk for a minute? And so she asked him to leave the room. I had every intention of like, I need to go back and like connect with him. Didn't get to have that moment. So in my head, I had every intention of like, oh, I've got to make sure like things are good with Trent. Because yeah, she did make the comment like, could you leave the room? And I was like, oh. So it hit me. He probably is thinking like something. I just hate that it happened in that moment and it wasn't something I was able to go back and have a conversation with him about.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, especially with this new week format that we tried. There's not a lot of room to go back and have conversations with people. The strategy talk is so fast.
Absolutely. I would say that was probably the thing that was hardest in my opinion is it was so like bam, 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 like the whole time. So it was like there was no downtime even to just talk to people, just to talk. Like it was always, okay, now it's the time to strategize. And then we have to go to the crossroads. Now's the time to strategize. So it was like there was no time to just like, let's have some conversation. And if you didn't have a conversation, it was like, well, I mean, I didn't get to talk to that person at all, kind of thing, you know? So yeah, it was just very fast paced and very to the point. So
Yeah. But you played a great game. They just got you with a good blind side, and you have to take it as a compliment because they knew how good of a social player you were and how good you were at challenges too. So
thank you. I wish I would have been able to stay a little bit longer, but to even prove that, I felt like I didn't really have a true opportunity to like really show what I can do, you know? So I was like, man. So but yeah, so I'm glad to have been able to play. But I do know that from talking to different, people, especially at this point, like people like, oh, like people liked you or you were very social. And so, I mean, like you said, I should take it as a compliment. So,
and I think you might surprise yourself watching it back because I think you underestimate yourself until you kind of see your performance back. And you still are the farthest person in the compass hunt.
really, okay.
So you get a
Yeah,
gold star for that.
I was determined to get it. So, so that's good.
um, Here's a question for you though. This has
Yeah.
been something that's been asked a lot. Did you ever consider a teachers alliance?
It's funny because at one point I had thought like, I need to connect more with some of the teachers, like not necessarily like a teachers alliance, but like I need to connect and see like, just kind of connect in that way. Because I know there were several different educators in the mix, which is like pretty interesting. But no, I didn't consider an alliance, but I had thought to myself, like, I really need to try to connect to some of the educators out there. So
It's funny, a lot of the players have been wondering that some of them thought there was a teachers alliance secretly, some of them thought there was a secret Canadian alliance, and none of these things actually happened.
yeah.
But yeah, so we obviously loved having you. If we asked you to play again, would you come back?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I totally would.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for such a fun season and being such a great social player. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off today?
No, not necessarily. I mean, good luck to whoever wins this. And I have my hopes of who might win, or I have my hopes of like, or who I think might win.
Who are you rooting for?
So there's a part of me that's really rooting for Sneha, and there's a part of me that's rooting for Trent. So I feel very like in between those two right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling torn right now. If you would have asked me before I left, I would have thought like Robin and Jordan, like those are my people. Sneha, so, and then I was like, nope. No, but right now I'm really feeling like Trent or Sneha would be, either of them would be a good choice in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been Back at the Ranch, and we'll see everyone for the next episode.